Well, it seems like this is one of the busiest news days for college football we've had on a Sunday in quite some time. Of course, you've got all the fallout from Bottlegate, Golf Ball Gate, Mustard Gate, Voltard Gate, Lane Kiffin Gate, whatever you want to call it, the mess that was the ending of the Tennessee Ole Miss game last night. You've got the new polls coming out here right now. The coaches poll, I think, just got released. AP poll coming out any minute now. Probably be out by the time you watch this video. Iowa, of course, lost. So how high is Cincinnati going to move up? Georgia probably remain number one with a big win over Kentucky. Where will Alabama be? How far will Iowa fall? And now LSU has reached an agreement to fire Ed Orgeron at the end of the season, though. This is just unbelievable. Well, it's not unbelievable at all. I mean, the reality of the situation with this Ed Orgeron thing is, look, only beating Florida by 7 at home is a fireable offense. I mean, does anyone not understand that? I mean, you only beat a terrible Florida team by 7 points at home. And Ed Orgeron was already just barely hanging on to his job. This was enough to put the LSU administration over the edge. You beat Florida at home by 7, you probably deserve to be fired. That's just pitiful. You should have beat Florida by way more than that. They're absolutely horrible. They played both their quarterbacks. Each of them threw 2 interceptions. The funniest thing I've ever seen is when they each threw interceptions on consecutive plays. Emory Jones threw one. The very next play that Florida had the ball, Anthony Richards comes in. He throws one. So, yes, he deserved to be fired. Ed Orgeron did. You beat Florida at home by 7. That's a fireable offense. Anyway, this, I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. I think almost everybody understood that this was Ed O's last year in Baton Rouge as head coach of LSU. The only questions people really have had over the last couple of weeks is, when's it going to happen, right? Is it going to happen during the season? Will it happen at the end of the season? Maybe they've already decided to fire him, but because he won a national title 2 years ago, they'll give him what do you call it? They'll give him the courtesy of finishing out the season, whatever. Well, now we know that this will be Ed Orgeron's last year in LSU. They're going to let him stay on as head coach through the end of the year. But I guess so by doing this, they can go ahead and start their coaching search, get the word out that they're going to be hiring a new coach, start possibly interviewing available coaching candidates, or at the very least, as soon as the season ends, they'll be able to do that. You can't interview coaches that are currently coaching somewhere else right now. But and this gives Ed Orgeron the dignity, I guess, of sort of coaching out the rest of this year. It's always firing a coach. There's always a lot of the same questions get asked. Who you going to replace him with? Should you fire him in the middle of the season? Should you wait till the end of the year? Why are you firing him? This kinds of things. And LSU had an amazing team in 2019, 15-0 with Joe Burrow, one of the best teams of the last 15 or 20 years, no doubt about it. But if you take that year away, Ed Orgeron is really a pretty average coach everywhere he's been. So I'm not at all surprised that it came unglued after 2019 when he lost Joe Burrow and, of course, the offensive co-offensive coordinator or passing game coordinator, whatever they called him, Joe Brady. And if you look at Ed Orgeron's, last 2 seasons, 2020 and now 2021, what is he, 8-9, 5-5 last year. What is he now? 3-4 and 3, whatever he is. I believe he's 8-9 now since winning that national title game in what seems like forever ago. There are no right or wrong answers, I don't think, in terms of when you should fire the coach. Should you fire him during the season? Should you wait till after? One of the things that has really kind of changed people's thought process, I think, on firing coaches and when you should do it is early signing day, right? Now, forever, signing day was in February, first Wednesday of the first Wednesday during the first full week of February, whatever day that happened to fall. So you could wait till the end of a season, which typically is the last weekend of November, right? Last weekend of the regular season, fire your coach and have 2 months to hire a new coach and convince your recruiting class to stick around. Signing day was still 2 months away. If you fire a coach into November, signing day is not till first week of February. That gives you 2 months to kind of go out, talk, get a coach hired. That coach can then talk to the current commits who are planning on signing in February, convince them to stay on board, that kind of thing. Well, now that you have this early signing day in December, that becomes a lot harder to do. If you wait until the end of the regular season to fire your coach, that's 2 weeks before signing day. So signing day is, I don't know the exact date, somewhere around December 15th, I believe this year, is the early signing day period. So if you're not firing your coach until basically December 1st or Thanksgiving weekend or whatever, those recruits are sitting around going, okay, I committed to this school with this coach and this coaching staff. I'm supposed to sign in 2 weeks. Now you fire the coach. I don't know who the new coach is going to be. Is 2 weeks even enough time to hire a coach? It's hard for a high school player, I think, to commit to a school if they don't even know who the coach is going to be. So I think you're going to see probably a lot more teams now who have decided that they want to go in a different direction coaching-wise to go ahead and announce that or make that known at some point during the season. I mean, we saw Southern Cal fire Clay Helton way back in week 2, right? That gives you a huge head start in terms of coaching searches and time to shore up your recruiting class and convince them to maybe stay on board, right? And that's what LSU is going to have to juggle now, right? It's the juggling act of finding a new head coach and then convincing what is always a pretty good recruiting class at LSU to go ahead and stay committed to LSU and sign in December. They've got to get a coach in place, though, in my mind, in order for that to happen. I mean, I've never been a highly rated high school football recruit, but I can imagine that if I was and I had a lot of different choices in terms of where I could go, a school not having a head coach would severely impact my willingness to sign there. And we see this happen before. We see kids sign with schools that have no head coach. I mean, it happens all the time when coaches don't get hired in time for the early signing period. But it's just hard to imagine it doesn't have some type of negative impact. So I think LSU is probably handling this the right way. It maybe, it's lucky for them, I guess, in a sense, that Ed Orgeron was willing to agree to these terms because, let's be real. Have you ever had a job that you've been fired from? What if your boss came to you and said, look, it's not working out. You're not a very good employee. We're going to fire you, but we want you to work 6 or 7 more weeks. Can you do that? That's not easy to do. So give Orgeron some credit too, I think, for agreeing to do this. I do think this will help LSU to secure its 2022 signing class. Now, I do think the signing class will take somewhat of a hit. You're probably going to have some players that are committed to LSU that sort of maybe decommit now, reopen up their recruiting process for the next 6 or 7 weeks. They may decide to recommit to LSU based in whole or in part on who they decide to hire, right? But I don't think you can discount the recruiting element when you're looking into the decisions that these schools make in terms of firing coaches and when they decide to do it or when they decide to announce it. Now, in terms of who LSU may or may not hire to replace Ed Orgeron, I don't have any idea. It's always a crapshoot, right? I mean, anybody can come on here and rattle off the same list of names that seem to get mentioned all the time when you talk about high-profile coach openings, right? Luke Fickell, Matt Campbell, the coach of Coastal Carolina is a hot name the last couple of years. The offensive coordinator of Coastal Carolina, Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, whose name has been mentioned a lot of times for the Southern Cal job. So there's, all of those names I'm sure will get mentioned in addition to a bunch of others. I've already heard Joe Brady's name mentioned as a possible replacement for Ed Orgeron. And, of course, I'm sure that's something the LSU fans would be particularly interested in, since I think anybody with any sense has to give Joe Brady a ton of credit for what happened at LSU in 2019. Now, obviously, quarterbacks like Joe Burrow don't grow on trees, but Joe Burrow has proven to be an elite offensive mind in the game of college football. I mean, we saw that in 2019. There's just no way to question that now. Will he come back to LSU? Well, who knows? Again, you'll hear a bunch of different names floated around. Some of them will be the list of usual names you always hear, and then some will be sort of out of the blue type of names, past coaches with connections to LSU, any coach that has maybe some SEC experience, whether it's as a coordinator or a previous head coach. Recruiting is huge anywhere you go, but particularly in the SEC. So, you look for a coach with ties to the Southeast, maybe, or the Louisiana and Texas type area. Who knows? There's a lot of different ways LSU can go, and obviously whatever direction they go is going to have a huge impact, either positively or negatively, on LSU's football future moving forward, right? Head coach is a big part of what you're doing with football. You have to be able to recruit. You have to be able to coach. The coach has to bring in a top-notch staff. You have to give the coach everything he needs in terms of facilities and recruiting budgets. So we'll see. I have no idea what direction they're going to go, but what I do know is only beating Florida by 7 at home is a fireable offense. If you don't believe me, just ask Ed Orgeron. But yeah, big shame. Big shame for Coach O. I called Coach O this morning and asked him what he thought about the decision LSU had made to be fired, and you know what he told me? He told me, "Go Tigers." That's what he told me. I said, "Well, hard to argue with that, Coach. I understand you. I understand what you're saying." So yeah, crazy weekend of college football though. The Tennessee debacle. Now this another top 4 team losing in Iowa this weekend. I mean, it's just been wild. Who's the only Michigan and Michigan State? Wow. Michigan and Michigan State, the only 2 undefeated teams left in the Big Ten. Now, who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? And what's weird is most people don't think they're the 2 best teams. Hell, they might not be the 2 best teams. Ohio State's playing better. I still think Penn State's really good. I still think Iowa's really good, despite that debacle yesterday where they lost to Purdue. But anyway, crazy weekend of college football. Today's Sunday. Your season is over day. There's so much to talk about outside of that today, though. I might wait and release that video tomorrow. I know that's going to bother a lot of people. That's a popular video, but I've already had to do 2 videos today now. One about Tennessee, one now about the Ed Orgeron thing. I know from past experience releasing 3 videos in one day isn't typically a good idea unless they're the short reaction type videos that I do on game day. Releasing a bunch of 10, 15, 20-minute videos in the same day doesn't usually work out. So I may wait and do maybe I just push everything back a day. I'll do the Your Season is Over video and release it Monday, and then release my new top 25 ranking on Tuesday. That's probably what I'll do. But anyway, Ed Orgeron, at least in terms of LSU, your coaching career is over.